नमस्कार मंडळी. मी नमिता वेदक, महाराष्ट्र मंडळ शिकागोची अध्यक्ष. तुम्हा सर्वांना आज आजच्या शनिवार सकाळी आपल्या आरोग्यधाम कट्ट्यात स्वागत. तुम्ही एवढ्या संख्येने जॉईन झालात आणि आम्हाला सपोर्ट करतायत त्याच्यासाठी पुष्कळ धन्यवाद. आज आपल्याकडे जे खास गेस्ट आलेले आहेत, आपल्याच मेंबरचा मुलगा यश हटकर, ह्याचं पण फारच धन्यवाद. त्यांनी आपल्याबरोबर येऊन हा इंटरव्ह्यू देणं हा एक फारच धैर्याचं काम आहे. आणि त्यांनी हे अवेअरनेस क्रिएट करण्यासाठी जे आपल्याला सपोर्ट करतोय तो, त्याच्यासाठी व्हेरी बिग थँक्यू टू यश. ह्याचबरोबर तुम्हा सगळ्यांना ऑफकोर्स गुड मॉर्निंग. तुम्ही सकाळची तुमची शनिवारची वेळ आमच्याबरोबर स्पेंड करताय त्याच्यासाठी खूप खूप धन्यवाद. त्याचबरोबर आजच्या प्रोग्रामच्या बरोबरच उद्याच्या एका प्रोग्रामची अनाउन्समेंट करायची आहे. उद्या आपल्या ग्रॅज्युएशनचा इव्हेंट आहे महाराष्ट्र मंडळाचा. आपल्या बरोबरची युथ मुलं ग्रॅज्युएट होत आहेत ह्या वर्षी. आपल्या मेंबर्सची मुलं जे हायस्कूलचे ग्रॅज्युएशन पण आहेच आपलं, त्याचबरोबर काही जे मुलं आपल्या बरोबर आपण जेव्हा उल्का नगरकर ह्यांच्या बरोबर हा युथ ग्रॅज्युएशनचा प्रोग्रामचा इव्हेंटचा आपण हे केलं होतं, ओपनिंग केलं होतं, त्यावेळेला जी मुलं आपल्या बरोबर हायस्कूलमध्ये ग्रॅज्युएट झाली होती, तीच मुलं आता या वर्षी आपल्या बरोबर त्यांचं पुढचं शिक्षण कम्प्लीट करत. तर त्यांचं पण आपण अचिव्हमेंट्स आणि हार्डवर्कचं सेलिब्रेशन करणार आहोत उद्या. तर म्हणजे कॉलेजची मुलं पण आहेत, हायस्कूलची मुलं पण आहेत आणि PhDची पण मुलं आहेत. तर नक्की तुम्ही उद्या त्यांना तिथून आपण झूम शेअर करू. तर तुम्ही तिकडे येणार नसाल तर जॉईन करा. आणि त्याचबरोबर त्याच दुपारी आपलं हे 1:30 वाजता आहे उद्या प्रोग्राम इंडिया हब मध्ये. आणि त्याच्यानंतर ग्रॅज्युएशनच्या नंतर आपला अनाहट म्युझिक प्रोग्राम आहे, जो इंडियावरून ग्रुप आलेला आहे. आपला हा मेंटल इलनेस मंथ असल्यामुळे जो आपला आजचा प्रोग्राम ज्याच्याने आपण सुरू करतो आहोत, जस्ट टू क्रिएट द अवेअरनेस ऑफ मेंटल इलनेस अमॉंग्स आवर कम्युनिटी अँड हाऊ टू गो अबाउट इट. त्याचबरोबर त्याच ह्याच्यावरून बेस्डवरून आपला तो उद्याचा प्रोग्राम आहे. दॅट इज इन कोलॅबोरेशन विथ आपला आरोग्यधाम, फिटनेस आणि आम्ही सारे गवई. ह्या कोलॅबोरेशन आपल्या तिन्ही कट्ट्यांच्या कोलॅबोरेशनमुळे उद्या होणार आहे. तो विनामूल्य प्रोग्राम आहे आणि तुम्हाला जर अटेंड करायचा असेल तर नक्की या. तो संध्याकाळी 5 वाजता चालू होणार आहे त्याच ठिकाणी इंडिया हब मध्ये. त्याच्यासाठी रजिस्ट्रेशन नक्कीच आवश्यक आहे. तर केलं नसेल तर करा, म्हणजे आम्हाला प्लॅनिंग करायला जरा सोपं पडतं. आणि नक्कीच उद्या भेटूया. आणि आत्ताच्या कट्ट्याला जास्त वेळ न घालवता मी रेखा देवधर यांच्या आमचे जे आरोग्यधामचे आयोजक आहेत, रेखा देवधर, उल्का नगरकर, चंद्रा वेदक, अनुपमा भट, मनोज भट, या सगळे आमचे आयोजक आहेत. पण त्यातल्याच रेखा देवधर यांना इंट्रोडक्शन करायला सूत्र हँड ओव्हर करते. थँक्यू.
कोणीतरी ऍडमिट करा. हा आता नमस्कार मंडळी. 2 आठवड्यापूर्वी आपल्या BMMच्या मेडिटेशन अँड सेल्फ केअर या ग्रुपवरती शब्दरूप देऊ मुक्या भावनांना असा एक मेंटल हेल्थवरतीच कार्यक्रम झाला. आणि हा कार्यक्रम कशासाठी होता तर बहुतेक वेळा ज्यांना काहीतरी मनोविकार असतात ते लोक त्याच्याबद्दल बोलत नाहीत, बोलायला अजिबात तयार होत नाहीत. म्हणून त्याचं नाव असं होतं की शब्दरूप देऊ मुक्या भावनांना, की तुम्ही बोला, त्याच्याबद्दल सांगा आणि त्याच्याबद्दल काय ट्रीटमेंट आहेत वगैरे असं सगळं त्या प्रोग्रॅममध्ये सांगितलं होतं. पण आज आपल्या इथे एक नमिता म्हणाली तसं खूप धैर्यवान तरुण मुलगा इथे येऊन त्याची कहाणी सांगणार आहे. त्याने कसं स्वतःला या नैराश्यामधनं बाहेर काढलं आज त्याच्याबद्दल आपण ऐकणार आहोत. आणि ह्याचं नाव आहे यश हटकर. आणि यश हटकर इज अ फिल्म मेकर, आर्टिस्ट अँड मेंटल हेल्थ ॲडव्होकेट फ्रॉम बफेलो ग्रोव्ह, Illinois. He has worked on a wide variety of projects ranging from documentaries, music videos, and short feature-length film.
मी पूजा करतोय.
Talking. A project he is forever grateful for is Hattie the stand-up, a comedy show about his healing journey after a suicide attempt, which he performed at the Chicago Davis Theater in March of 2023. He believes his greatest successes have always been due to the wonderful teams he has had throughout his journey. He is honored to have been surrounded by these amazing people every step of the way, whether they be his friends, family, or creative partners. Now I will introduce you our own Dr. Chandra Vedak, who is going to do interview with Yash. As you know, that Chanda is a psychiatrist, and Chandra Vedak has been practicing psychiatry since 1987. He is board certified by the American Board of Neurology and Psychiatry and also is a distinguished Life Fellow of American Psychiatric Association. He has been involved in teaching advocacy over the last 4 decades and was twice named Psychiatrist of the Year in Illinois. असे हे डॉक्टर चंद्रा वेदक अकम्प्लिश सायकायट्रिस्ट यशचं इंटरव्ह्यू घेणार आहेत. तर आता आपण ऐकूया. चंदा, टू यू.
And welcome you all to this incredible event. And thank you, Yash, for agreeing to appear on MMC's Arogyadham program. It is truly courageous on your part to do this. And calling it courageous really reflects one of the unfortunate realities, and that is mental health is not as acceptable. It is not acceptable to talk about mental health as it is to talk about sprained ankle or cough and cold. And one of the objectives of these programs is to help people talk about these things as easily as they do about their other medical conditions. So until we get there, every honest conversation, every public appearance, and every story shared chips away at the stigma that mental health carries. With that in mind, let's talk about your artistic journey first. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your artistic journey?
Sure. First, thank you all for having me here. Today, I'd look at all my various artistic talents as a culmination of having learned from each other. What I mean is, my first talent that my parents noticed was art. Since 5 years old, I studied at a school called Mona Art Drawing Studio. From there, carried that artwork all the way through high school. I think it's been the one through line throughout, keeping me grounded. There were times along the journey where, mental ups and downs, but I think it's been proven throughout mental health organizations, therapeutic activities, that art is very healing. And I'm just lucky that it came so naturally to me. Of course, it's been 20 years since, but now I'm able to draw a lot of portraits just by eye, and I'm very grateful for that ability. I think through that, it helped me understand human emotion a lot. I think I like faces and portraits because what I always try to capture is the accuracy of what people are feeling. I was always interested in understanding people's psyches and trying to understand what causes them to act the way they are. Both my parents brought different elements into the way I view the world. My dad loves storytelling. My bedtime story, I joke that, I mean, it's the truth. My bedtime story was the Mahabharata. So I've been interested in deep mythology and the understanding various characters, etc., from as early as age 5. And I think that made me naturally a philosophical thinker, always trying to understand different cultures. From there, we were also a big movie-going family. The movie magic of going to the theaters, even the most recent Mission Impossible, Dad said that we're not going unless it's IMAX because it deserves to be seen on the screen. So I think there was a lot of respect and passion for the creative arts throughout. And then my mom said she's always been one of the most empathetic people I know. She always encouraged us to look at the other side of things, what people might be thinking, feeling, understanding their whole stories. So I think naturally all of this drew me to the world of filmmaking, where I was inspired by films like Rajkumar Hirani's Munna Bhai and Three Idiots, PK. Not so much the ones after that, but strong start. And what I loved about those is their characters as well. Um, the protagonist often approached life through that satirical, childlike curiosity. It encouraged asking questions, it encouraged understanding different ideas. And so I just remember feeling very wholesome after those movies, not just enlightened, but entertained. And I think that stuck with me throughout. The make art that can hopefully impart some sort of idea, but in a way that's exciting, in a way that's fun, in a way that makes you want to go back to it. If something preaches, a lot of times in culture, you hear a lot of ideas of how to behave, how to act. And sometimes a movie or a show or a piece of art can do it in a much more subtle way that reaches you more naturally and then makes you want to grow. So that's my relationship with art.
Thank you. Let's show one of his creations, Rekha. Let's show a song from Hattie.
Yeah. You hear it?
Yeah.
Do you get it from the beginning?
पिघला दे जंजीरें बना उनकी शमशीरें कर हर मैदान फतेह बंदिया कर हर मैदान फतेह घायल परिंदा है तू दिखला दे जिंदा है तू बाकी है तुझ में हौसला तेरे जुनू के आगे अंबर पनाहे मांगे कर डाले तू जो फैसला
रूठी तकदीरें तो क्या टूटी शमशीरें तो क्या टूटी शमशीरों से ही हो
see whether I can.
इन गर्दिशों के बादलों पे चढ़ के वक्त का गिरबा पकड़ के पूछना है जीत का पता, जीत का पता।
इन मुट्ठियों में चांद तारे भर के आसमां की हद से गुजर के हो जा तू भीड़ से जुदा, भीड़ से जुदा, भीड़ से जुदा। कहने को सर्रा है तू, लोहे का छर्रा है तू, टूटी शमशीरों से ही हो।
कर हर मैदान फतेह, कर हर मैदान फतेह, कर हर मैदान फतेह रे बंदेया, हर मैदान फतेह।
कर हर मैदान फतेह, कर हर मैदान फतेह, कर हर मैदान फतेह, बंदिया हर मैदान फतेह। कर हर मैदान फतेह, कर हर मैदान फतेह, कर हर मैदान फतेह रे बंदिया हर मैदान फतेह।
Sorry, we had some trouble with the audio here, but you'll be able to
Oh, you
access.
didn't?
माझं चालू आहे तिथे.
तिथे
आहे म्हणून.
काय
क्रॉसिंग ना तुझं बंद कर, माझं तिथे चालू.
पण मला तिथे यायला पाहिजे तुझं ते चार्ज होत आहे ना.
Okay.
I'll mute him.
Okay. But you'll be able to access this song again from the information that we'll be giving later on. And you'll be able to watch it. It's a beautiful song, very well made and sung, of course, very touching. So I would encourage you to certainly access it from the information that we'll be giving you a little bit later. So Yash, tell us a little bit about your mental health journey at this point.
The number one thing I'm learning is that sometimes the perceived problem is the solution, and sometimes the perceived solution is the problem. Essentially, something you and I talked about a couple weeks ago over breakfast, which is how do humans deal with uncertainty? From a young age, I think it's always a variety of factors. The number one thing I tried to emphasize to all friends, family, etc., was don't look for I think especially in our culture, the phrase "find the root cause of the problem" is used to try to approach every challenge we have in our life from like a scientific method, find the initial variables, etc., etc. Sometimes it's not rooted down to one thing, because therapy has helped me learn that it's learning to let go of some things and not give every thought and event the unnecessary importance that it doesn't deserve is in fact the solution. Now I bring that up because what I did all the years prior was the opposite. The creative strengths were also sometimes mental health weaknesses. Overthinking, obsessing about stories and ideas, and then seeing almost like a dissonance between the way the world works and the world that you want it to be. Sometimes asking questions with no answers, sometimes being stuck in your own fears. All these factors led to a building OCD. OCD is obsessive compulsive disorder. And most naturally, we see it with the idea of like washing hands or obsessive, tendencies about spreading germs or getting sicknesses from germs, but beyond that, it's a more encompassing condition where pretty much a human is unable to let go of a thought, idea, or something that they're fixated on. And in order to um, feel better, they'll do these things called compulsions, which is activities, behaviors, mental rituals, or patterns of thinking where they have to find an answer, they have to find an answer. And, being
Those
stuck,
compulsions are like counting numbers or counting backwards or things like that.
it could be anything from, maybe you pass by a tree and a tree reminds you of a childhood memory. And then the childhood memory could be, I don't know, maybe a bully pushed you down when you were playing on the playground. And then, uh, now you look at that tree and you're like, oh, but I like that tree. And the mind can do a funny, this is just hypothetical, but a funny thing of, oh, do you like that tree because you like that memory, because you like being bullied? And then you go down a stupid spiral of, oh, you're submissive. And you search for all these things as to why did that original idea come? Why did I like the tree? Blah, blah, blah. And then you're connecting things that are not there. Now, I read a lot about this because it happened, I fall into that trap all the time. Most recently, I was reading that it's a nice phrase they use that mental health or any of these extra things are like junk mail that goes to your email. You could click on it and get trapped in it, but most of the time it's junk mail. So
Very nice. Very
yeah.
nice. Now, you raised a very good point there. Most of our community is either in computers or engineering. And in those fields, 2 + 2 is always 4. But when it comes to mental health, it is not that way. When it comes to medicine, it is not that way because there are so many different factors that play into somebody experiencing some conditions, illnesses. And it is a lot more difficult to really get a sense of why this is happening. And our tendency to find the ultimate answers really gets us more frustrated because of that. So that's a very good point that you raised there. Now, when was the first time you noticed that your moods were kind of all over the place, or you had low energy or extra energy?
I'll do this for this question, but I know you shouldn't over retroactively. That's what my friend was saying. Don't retroactively assess your past.
Sure.
My parents first noticed it when I was bullied in middle school.
Mhm.
And now that I look back at the nature of the bullying, there's a consistency to it. Wasn't like a different thing every day. It was the same elements that these two kids were harping on. They're like, oh, you don't have common sense, and then racial based stereotypes and stupid joking, all of seventh grade. And the problem was both these kids were in every period of my whole day. So then it's like you have to hear this bickering um, that is true or not true about every action that you do. So then it took time to realize how to cope with it. Initially, I think what my parents noticed is I was just silent or, not bringing it up. And I think that habit is what led to some of these other things, which is when you bottle stuff up, eventually it's going to, like a pressure cooker, it's going to explode at some point. Um, that's likely what has led to the conditions I have today. Not that incident, but the way of dealing with it. Now, my favorite movie of all time is The Dark Knight. For those who don't know, it's a Batman movie released all the way in '08. There's always an intrigue around it because, again, I was 10 when it came out, and my parents had seen it first, rightfully, because it was a Batman movie, but it was definitely not for kids. So when I actually got around to watching it, we got it from the library 2 years later. Um, it was right in line with all the things I love, which is super philosophical and everything. And there's a line in there where the Batman character, his butler Alfred, tells him that's the point of Batman. You can be an outcast and you can deal with what others cannot deal with. You can make the choice that the others would not make. So I kind of drew to that for um, personal comfort and like, okay, be like Batman. Every bad thing that happens to you, you can take it because that's what Batman would do. It's not necessarily a healthy way to go about it, especially as a 13-year-old. But to this day, I will say it brought more good than bad because it did put a lot of emphasis on choice making and choosing to be heroic or brave or perceived heroic or brave. Now that again, I think when you ask this question of when you first notice these mood swings, that in itself became an obsession, right? Because if you fixate on anything, it can lead to both great, they say that's a common phrase, the higher the rise, the greater the fall. So
Right.
most recently that actually showed itself in a manic episode that I had a few months ago where the mind races and then there's extreme sleep deprivation because the mind keeps racing. And then the problem becomes a solution, right? What do you go for comfort? You go to your phone, you watch reels, you play games, etc. In moderation, great. Just like when people go partying, drinking can loosen inhibitions. But you drink too much, you throw up. And that's almost every element in our life, I think, is a good example of um, you do too much or too little and it will have problems. I think that's the whole point of mental health, that so to answer the question, when did I first notice these? That's something I can think of from a young experience. When did I notice it more recently was in the last few months of 2021 and um, the beginning half of 2022 that led to the suicide attempt. I was not going to work. It was this compulsive need to ruminate. Ruminate means fixate over and over a past or future event. And in this case, is always the past. It was always overjudging an action that I did or did not do, overjudging a memory. And then, you can't be in the present and really move forward because, like, say one day you knock over a bottle because you are just running through the kitchen on your way to the stairs. Now imagine that every time you walk past that where the bottle used to be, you're like tiptoeing, walking on eggshells. You cannot tiptoe your way through life. It's a course correction way of thinking. It's, oh, I ran, I knocked over the bottle, which means running is bad. No, running is not bad.
There's a tendency to kind of generalize those experiences to things that we shouldn't be generalizing it to.
We run in the opposite direction of the defining incident that scared us first, right?
Right. Now, a lot of research over the last 30, 40 years actually has shown that there's a connection between creativity and mental health issues. How has your creativity been guided or affected by the mental health issues?
More so now when I started realizing how I approach the creative arts. With filmmaking, I think it's the most natural connection. You have to embody the worlds of various characters when you're writing a script, when you're trying to understand. And to do that accurately, you turn to references, which is people in your own life, events in your own life, other stories, other movies. So you're constantly reading and researching and thinking through the lens of other people. And the only way you do that is to connect your own experiences to them. Oh, how would they feel if they went through this? Well, how did I feel when I went through similar incident? But what you're doing as a result is spending a lot of time feeling all your experiences at the risk, which has happened before. Sometimes, you have to step away from the script at the risk of the story becoming your life and your life becoming the story. And then you're again reading too much into it because it's like, okay, I am not Batman. I'm not a billionaire who runs over a corrupt city and goes out at night, and I don't do that. I can relate to his worldview, but I don't do that. I go to school and that's it. I go to school and I deal with my own problems. So creativity naturally takes you down the path of thinking into very interesting ideas. I mean, we all love interesting ideas. We love suspense thrillers. We love the mind-boggling movies. But the difference between an artist and, someone who doesn't have that condition is how long they spend time with that idea.
Right. Now, you had appeared on a show, Breaking the Silence, produced by South Asian Americans for Change. I think it was the interview was last year after your suicide attempt?
2 years ago, but they released the episode last year, so it took them a year.
Okay. So let's watch the snippets of that interview. Rekha?
This, that stresses me out. So I'm thinking about this, and then it just never
So
stops.
it's like a snowball effect of
Yeah,
just stress on
rabbit
top
hole.
of stress on
Yeah,
top of
yeah,
stress.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The habits that have developed over the last decade led to a very serious form of OCD.
Okay.
Only now am I starting to really understand what exactly it is that I'm going through. So I experience harm OCD, which we'll define a little later, but it's this fear of all the intrusive thoughts in your head that make you think you want to hurt people or do things that are totally against who you believe yourself to be.
Okay.
Because of that, you start going out of your way to make sure those things don't happen.
Right.
So, started therapy December of 2021. We added medicine a few months in. Again, I think it really hit me when I was like, I just stopped going to work. Yeah, I just wasn't logging in, overusing sick days. And then Monday, May 23rd of last year, I had decided, okay, yes, it's enough. It'll make sense why I'm going to be a little maybe overly candid about this, but I'm like, okay, I think it's time to go. I'm going to overdose on my pills.
Okay.
Took 8 pills, sat there, watched Ozark, series finale. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go out at least finishing something. Then I realized, like, logic dawned on me. I'm like, oh, I probably should have taken those pills because I'm probably not going to die. Or even if I don't die, I'm going to start puking all over the floor. Something, I don't know.
Yeah.
Called my therapist. She's like, okay, I think an attempt is enough. She called my mom. Mom rushes home. My entire family is there at this time. So so we had to make up an excuse about, oh, he has a stomach ache, so he's going to the hospital. At the end of that week, for the first time, I believed that I might get better because I had the education, I had the resources, I was learning what OCD is. By the end of that week, I believed I would get better. They recommended me to a place called Rogers Behavioral Health in Skokie, Illinois. Went there for 2 months. And at the end of it, John Mulaney did a show about his spiral into drug addiction that I saw a couple weeks before discharge. Around that time, my best friend also said, "God damn it, Yash, you make so many suicide jokes. One day I'll see a Netflix special about this." I don't know why that just hit, but for some reason, it seemed like that could be a way to channel what I'd been going through. And I'm always creative. I have an idea. The more I started to write it and treatment was ending, I'm like, maybe there's something here. And then that Hattie comedy show, which I'll get into, is born. I wanted to be a filmmaker.
चंदा?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now, how did your family initially react to your mental health issues?
They reacted, I truly mean this, the best they could with the information that they had. So, you know, it wasn't just them, it was me too. Like, I didn't know what was truly going on in my head. I didn't understand the deep elements of OCD. And we all turned to the first thing, which was, okay, if we can't do this just together, we should at least turn to a therapist. The therapist was not specialized in OCD. So again, there was another level of, you're getting a little more information, but you don't have it all. So we all reacted as best we could, you know. My brother is, I have a very strong relationship with him. Over the years, it's very cyclical, where it's like he took inspiration from me, and then over time I forgot that these are just traits per se that maybe he got from me, and then I took inspiration from him, and then it just kept going. So, you know, it was always like student, mentor, mentor, student, and uh, he just had some cool sound bites throughout the journey where it's just sometimes the little things that you say. It's not the day to day everybody's going to do, right? Everybody is going to ask you how you are, ask you to talk. Sometimes you don't feel like talking, ask you to at least keep up to date with eating right, waking up, getting moving. Because that's all you know, right? Without resources. And then what you don't know, you turn to elements of your own life that help. You know, my brother's very into sports, athletics. He's serving the army, so he'll approach it from ideas like hard work and this is your hardest battle yet, and you know, you will overcome this. Mom will come from a point of love, and hitting the empathy element and trying to remind you about the positive elements of yourself, which is all stuff that they do in therapy anyways later, you know, self-compassion, et cetera, et cetera. It's just coming through the lens of what they know. Dad is the metaphor guy in our family. He's full of stories and elements. He'll reference a movie or a mythology or something. So everyone's trying the best they can with what they know. And at the time, it might be frustrating or confusing or whatever, because it's not the lens you understand, right? I think the importance of, and I think I'm grateful that I'm able to perceive things like this. A lot of times, if you ask that question, you know, the temptation is for me to be like, oh, they didn't get it. Their culture stopped them and they were mean and they didn't understand how blah blah blah. That's a fair reaction. But I
The
think it would be,
tendency to personalize.
yes, I think it would be unwise for me to just dismiss the good intentions from which it came. Sure, everyone may not be on their best behavior at a time of crisis because it's a time of crisis, but everyone is
Well
definitely
intentioned.
to put out the fire. Now, somebody might pour water on the wrong surface and then fire, but they're not trying to raise the fire. So I think if we just look back and be like, oh, everyone tried their best, because they're like a filmmaker, they're relating to how they would have solved other problems in their life. The beauty of events like this and mental health and etc., where the mental health world fills in the gap, is putting one umbrella over all of it and be like, hey, you guys had the right intentions. This is a more streamlined path to make it all work. Kind of like a chef taking the ingredients. Someone's like, put this, put that, put that. And it's like, okay, I get what you want. You want more spice. Let's not put that spice. But you had the right idea. Hey, I want more acidity. A big cooking metaphor because mom and I love cooking. But I think it's a very simple way to look at it. The recipe, the idea, the end product, everybody wants what they want. But not everybody might know oh, you actually have to do it this way, this way, this way. So the resources available, like any field, you want to build a robot, talk to an engineer. You want to understand the mind, talk to those who understand the mental health field, like yourself.
Thank you. What would you want? What advice would you give to, especially to young people who are experiencing some of the difficulties?
And this is not, again, I might have the luxury to say this because of my own experiences. So I'll respect that it's not always an option. Be as the word would be as respectful and caring to yourself to the point that you can handle. What I mean by that is there's two choices we always have, especially in Indian culture. Say what's on the mind and take the punishment, or don't say what's on the mind, and keep the goody two shoes element and then act out in secret.
It comes out somewhere.
Yes. For everything that I've experienced in my life, again, it's a balance, but I try to encourage the former because if you can stand through and this is I think we notice this in all elements of our life. If you can stand through the yelling, the punishment, the whatever, and still be like, okay, I don't care. I spoke my mind and bring it on. It pays dividends in the long term because I think what the parents see and what um, people around you see is like, whoa. Like any even in a basic superhero movie, the villain or whatever, the opponent will be like, wow, I just punched him 3 times, he got back up. He didn't care about getting punched. He cared about letting me know that he's here to fight his fight. And they may not agree at the time and it may create heated emotions, but I think if you can stand up for yourself, you develop a subconscious respect from everyone, including yourself. And you get that first sense of, hey, I was true to me. And that feels whatever else it feels right now. I feel beaten and scared and whatever, and emotionally. And I know in some cases, we're not going to hide this, that some cases it is physically. In those situations, obviously get the resources to help keep yourself safe. But like anything, don't stop being true to yourself, because I think it's better to be whole and broken than unwhole and fixed. You know, a house on leaky foundation is always going to have elements that keep it breaking down. But a house on good foundation can maybe be built back over a
And
long
can
time.
withstand the
The
heavy
storm.
winds and storms.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. That's very profound, actually, and very informative. I'm going to spend a little bit of time now to give some information about mental health and the resources that are available in the community. So let me share this. Okay. We quickly go over the signs and symptoms of clinical depression. You know, clinical depression is a extension of a normal experience. We all feel sad, we all feel frustrated, we have periods of time when we are irritable. But when these things become more sustained and remain for a prolonged period of time, that's when it becomes clinically more difficult to handle. So when you experience sustained sadness, feelings of loneliness, or when you break out into crying over the littlest of the things, have increased irritability, low energy, low motivation, and you get thoughts of feeling hopeless or helpless, that's when it's time to seek some help. These things can happen either in a natural course, or it can happen when you experience a significant loss or a conflict in your life, especially when there is associated sleep difficulty falling or staying asleep, and either gaining too much weight or losing too much weight, then you really want to seek some help to deal with those issues. A lot of times the depression can be associated with panic anxiety, where you experience heart palpitation, difficulty breathing, lightheadedness, queasiness in the stomach. And those symptoms last for anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes and may come from nowhere, even when you're not experiencing any immediate stress. The signs and symptoms of anxiety often overlap with depression because the biochemical issues that are involved in depression and anxiety are very similar. So even with anxiety, you might experience excessive worrying, sleep difficulties, especially difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep. There can be a change in appetite, and you again might experience physical symptoms like intermittent diarrhea or muscle tension, body aches, frequent headaches, or chest pains. These things typically are the generalized anxiety tends to be more of a lifelong trait, while depression tends to be tends to occur for periods of time, and then with treatment or sometimes even without treatment, the severity of depression may go down over a period of 6 months to a year. The bipolar disorder, as opposed to depression, is associated with mood swings. So there's a rapid change or shift in the mood where you might feel a lot of sadness and alternating with periods of elation or high energy. So you may find yourself sleeping excessively or may be able to go without sleep for a number of days. Uh, the thoughts, as Yash pointed out, thoughts tend to race through your mind, and you find yourself going into a rabbit hole of a variety of different thought processes that, again, can contribute to your keeping awake for a number of days. Every once in a while, it is also associated with some loss of touch with reality. While you might uh, think that you have certain strengths or certain abilities that you may not necessarily have. And people with bipolar disorder often tend to be impulsive. They uh, take significant financial risks, or they take significant interpersonal risks in the during the episode of bipolar disorder. The research over the last 35, 40 years has really provided with a lot of different help available. The help can be in with medications, with therapy. There are a variety of different medications now available that have significantly less side effects than they used to have in 1970s. There are antidepressant medications, anti-anxiety medications, or mood stabilizers. There are a variety of different therapies available, including cognitive behavioral therapy, interpersonal therapy, marital therapy, family therapy, or even the group therapies of various types. To access the mental health, if you're a student, you know, 16 to 24 is perhaps one of the most common age groups when people might experience mental health issues for the first time. And that's when you're away from the family, you're going to college or universities. And it is important to know what resources that are available in various universities if you do experience the mental health issues. If you are employed, then of course you can always go to your employee assistance program or EAPs that can provide you with counseling services. Insurance is always a good resource to find information about what mental health services might be covered and who are the providers that are within your insurance that is approved by your insurance program. There are various different ways to access mental health in your community. You can actually, Google, of course, knows everything. You can ask Google about the mental health resources that might be available in the community. There are resources that are available for the South Asian community where you can go to Psychology Today website and ask for South Asian therapists, and they will be able to provide information, provide the services that may be available in your zip code, in your area. You may also be able to contact local National Alliance for Mentally Ill website, and they will be able to provide information about the counselors or psychiatrists that are available in your area. The organizations like American Association of Psychiatrists from India, or API, may also be able to give you information available regarding the South Asian psychiatrists in your area. So there are various resources available. And of course, one of the best resource is your family or your friend who themselves may have access to mental health services, and they might be able to refer you to a psychiatrist or a therapist in your area. In case of emergency, there are crisis text lines. These are free 24/7 supports when you most need it. You can actually text home to 741 anywhere in the US, and you'll be able to talk to or communicate with a licensed counselor who would be able to give you information. NAMI also has a helpline, but that is manned only during the weekdays from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. And they also might be able to provide you help in case of crisis. Every county also actually has a crisis service, and they typically have a 1-800 number that you can access and get help during the emergency. There is a South Asian Sexual and Mental Health Alliance that you can connect to, especially for young people. If you're not able to discuss issues with your aunts and uncles, this organization actually provides support for the issues that you might be experiencing. The last Surgeon General talked about a new epidemic that we have experienced in the last 30-40 years, and has become more pronounced due to COVID, and that is an epidemic of loneliness, and emphasizes the importance of building social connections. It is very, very important to have a social support system that you can access to or you can use when you're feeling down or when you're feeling lonely. It is important to practice self-care, and of course, important to seek professional help when the depression or anxiety gets overwhelming and makes it difficult for you to manage your life, your day-to-day life. Maharashtra Mandal Chicago and various Maharashtra Mandals have done an incredible job in promoting the social connections, either through Zoom programs or through in-person programs. The various kattas that were started during COVID time have been extremely helpful in connecting the community and create that social network. The Bolka Katta, Sahitya Katta, Itihas Manch, all of these various interest groups and interest kattas have done an incredible job, and it's important to take advantage of those things and also attend as many in-person programs so that you have a social support network that you can access anytime when you're going through a difficult time. I think it's important to remember that mental health issues are as common as any other medical conditions. In fact, 1 in 5 individuals in this country experience mental health issues that require treatment. So it's important to have that conversation and keep that conversation going. Thank you.
थँक्यू डॉक्टर वेदक. नमस्कार, मी उल्का नगरकर, महाराष्ट्र मंडळ शिकागोच्या आरोग्यधाम मधली एक ॲडमिन आहे, आणि माझ्याच बरोबर आय एम फॉर्च्युनेट इनफ की डॉक्टर वेदक हे माझ्याबरोबर आरोग्यधाम मध्ये ॲडमिन म्हणून पण आहेत. आणि मंथ ऑफ मे हा मेंटल हेल्थ अवेअरनेसचा महिना आहे, आणि त्यासाठी आपण आज हे सत्र आयोजित केलं होतं. या सत्राला आपल्याला सहभाग लाभला त्यामध्ये यश हटकर आणि पूर्ण हटकर फॅमिली. तर सर्वप्रथम मी डॉक्टर चंद्रा वेदक यांचे आभार मानते की त्यांनी आपल्याला अतिशय उत्तम माहिती दिलेली आहे, रिसोर्सेसची माहिती दिलेली आहे आणि हेही तिथे एम्फसाइज केलेलं आहे की आपल्याला जर इश्यूज असतील तर त्याने घाबरून जाऊ नका, लाजू नका. जे उत्तम उपाय आहेत त्यांच्यापर्यंत तुम्ही देखील पोचायचा प्रयत्न करा. तर तुम्हाला त्यातले जाणकार जे तज्ञ असतील ते नक्कीच मदत करतील त्यातून बाहेर यायला. हे त्यांनी यामध्ये आज आपल्याला सांगितलेलं आहे. त्याचप्रमाणे यश हटकर याने स्वतःच्या देखील गोष्टी त्याला सुद्धा धैर्य लागतं. म्हणजे इट्स नॉट इझी यश. सो आय एम व्हेरी प्राउड ऑफ यू दॅट यू केम आउट ऑफ इट आणि यू आर ट्राइंग टू हेल्प अदर्स. आणि याबद्दल बोलणं, सगळ्यांसमोर बोलणं हे फार महत्वाचं आहे आणि ते तू केलंस आज. तर त्यामुळे तुझे देखील मनपूर्वक आभार. पूर्ण हटकर फॅमिलीचे आभार की त्यांनी यामध्ये यशला सपोर्ट केला आणि त्याची माहिती या प्लॅटफॉर्मवर सांगायला त्याला त्यांनी सपोर्ट केला त्या गोष्टीबद्दल. त्याच्याबद्दल पूर्ण हटकर फॅमिलीचे आभार. आरोग्यधामचे जे ऍडमिन आहेत माझ्या बरोबरीने, नमिता वेद, डॉक्टर चंद्रा वेद, अनुमा भट, मनोज भट, रेखाई देवधर, प्रियेश देशपांडे, या सगळ्यांचे मनपूर्वक आभार. या आजच्या कार्यक्रमाचं अतिशय सुंदर फ्लायर जिने बनवलं त्या प्राजक्ता जोशीचे आभार. त्याचप्रमाणे आपल्याला ही झूम लिंक देणं आणि युट्यूबवर त्याचं लाईव्ह करणं हे काम नित्यनेमाने जो करतो आपल्या तांत्रिक मांत्रिक टीमचा प्रियेश देशपांडे याचे मनपूर्वक आभार. हे सेशन अटेंड करायला आज तुम्ही शनिवारची सकाळ असून देखील मोठ्या संख्येने उपस्थित राहिला आहात झूमवर आणि युट्यूब लाईव्हवर. त्या सर्व अटेंडीजचे मनपूर्वक आभार. मी स्वतः आयुर्वेदिक डॉक्टर आहे आणि आयुर्वेदामध्ये फार काळापासून हे प्रिन्सिपल आहे की शरीर आणि मन हे दोन्ही स्वस्थ असायला हवं. शरीराला जर काही व्याधी झाला तर तो मनावर परिणाम करतो आणि मनाला जर काही व्याधी झाला तर ते शरीरावर परिणाम करतं. त्यामुळे शरीर आणि मन हे दोन्ही संतुलित कसं राहील यासाठी प्रयत्न करायला हवे. हे आयुर्वेदाने जे आपलं पूर्वापार सायन्स आहे, शास्त्र, आरोग्यशास्त्र आहे, त्याने देखील एम्फसाइज केलेलं आहे. आणि माझ्या स्वतःच्या मुली ज्या इथे अमेरिकेमध्ये वाढलेल्या आहेत त्या देखील मला जेव्हा सांगतात त्यावेळी मला एक नवीन अँगल किंवा नवीन दृष्टिकोन, एक पर्स्पेक्टिव्ह मिळाला की आई, आम्ही इथे वाढत असताना मे बी तुम्ही भारतात शिकून आलेले आहात, तर त्यावेळी तुम्ही ज्या वातावरणात राहिलात ते वातावरण आम्ही अमेरिकेत शिकत असताना नसतं. त्यामुळे बऱ्याचशा गोष्टी तुम्हाला कळू शकत नाहीत. तर कुठेतरी आम्हाला याच्यामध्ये गायडन्स मिळणं किंवा आम्हाला काय वाटतंय ते बोलायला आम्हाला कोणाशी तरी बोलावंसं वाटणं. तर यासाठी याच्यात हे जे थेरपिस्ट असतात म्हणजे लाईक नॉट नेसेसरी आपण आपल्या समाजामध्ये कसं आहे, अरे मनाच्या डॉक्टरकडे गेला म्हणजे हे वेडेच झाले असं जे आपण म्हणतो तसं नाहीये. तर आपल्याला मानसिक आधाराची गरज असते, आपल्याला योग्य दिशा मिळण्याची गरज असते. त्यासाठी मानसोपचार तज्ञांचा जर आपण सल्ला घेतला तर ते अधिक संयुक्तिक आहे आणि बरीचशी ऑफिसेस आहेत त्या ऑफिसेसमधनं देखील हे रिसोर्सेस आता उपलब्ध करून दिले जातात. त्याच्याबद्दलचा अवेअरनेस निर्माण केला जात आहे. डॉक्टर चंद्रा वेदक यांनी अतिशय सुंदर रिसोर्सेस आपल्याला आता दिलेले आहेत. इन्शुरन्सेस देखील बऱ्याचशा गोष्टी कव्हर करतात. तर जर आपल्याला असं जाणवलं, नुसती एक साधं आपल्याला मनाचा कोंडमारा जर होत असेल तर तो कोंडमारा आपल्याला जर टाळायचा असेल तर त्यासाठी देखील आपण मानसोपचार तज्ञाकडे जाऊन त्यांची भेट घेऊन एखादं सिटिंग घेतलं तरी काही त्याच्यामध्ये हरकत नसावी. यासारखं मार्गदर्शन, आज उत्तम मार्गदर्शन आपल्याला डॉक्टर चंद्रा वेदक यांनी दिलेलं आहे. तर या सर्व सेशनचे मी डॉक्टर चंद्रा वेदकांचे आभार मानते आणि सर्व सेशनला उपस्थित असलेल्यांचे आभार मानते. महाराष्ट्र मंडळ शिकागोची टीम, नमिता वेदक आणि त्यांची पूर्ण टीम यांचे आभार मानते. आणि आता मी माझे सहकारी मनोज भट यांना विनंती करते की त्यांनी आपला प्रश्नोत्तराचा तास जो आहे याच्या नंतरचा त्याची सूत्र आपल्या हाती घ्यावीत. धन्यवाद.